Hi, my name is Mrs. Rayford, and I will be explaining the pre-cal assignments to you. And form one is over right triangle trigonometry, so it's the basics of trigonometry. So, the next assignment is for one word problems. You use the same basis. You're going to be doing the SOHCAHTOA. You're going to have to draw diagrams. That's all. So now we're on to 4-2. And 4-2 is talking about degrees and radians. However, we're also talking about decimal degree and degree minute seconds. So a minute is a 60th of a degree and a second is a 60th of a minute. So we're going to convert back and forth between these just like we are going to with degrees and radians. So we're going to go from 27 degrees, 0.625 degrees, to degrees minute seconds. So because this is a 60th of a degree, we're going to multiply by 60 minutes over 1 degree, and we get 27 degrees plus 37.5 minutes. The apostrophe denotes minutes, quotation denotes seconds. So then we're also going to multiply that by 60 seconds over 1 minute. So we get 27 degrees plus 37 minutes plus 0.5 times 60 seconds over 1 minute. It should not have been up there. My bad. Okay, and then we have 27 degrees plus 37 minutes plus 30 seconds, or 27 degrees, 37 minutes, and 30 seconds. To go the other way around, we're going to be multiplying by the reciprocal that we did over here. So 30 degrees plus 20 minutes plus 42 seconds. So since seconds is the 60th of a minute, we're going to multiply by 1 over 60. And we get 30 degrees plus 20 minutes plus 0.7 minutes. So now we have 30 degrees plus 20.7 minutes. And we're going to multiply by 1 over 60 because 1 degree over 60 minutes. This was seconds and minutes. So 30 degrees plus 0.345 degrees, we get 30.345 degrees in the end. Coterminal angles. You are adding and subtracting a full rotation or multiple rotations. So that's why I have plus or minus 360 n and plus or minus 2 pi n. The n can be any number. So if we added 360 degrees to 30 or subtracted, we would get a coterminal angle, 390 or negative 330, because what we're talking about is this angle here, but if I go around one other time, it's the same angle, just a different number. Same if I go around multiple times. So this is the same concept, but because we have 2 pi, we need to change it to a fraction. So 3 pi over 4 plus 8 pi over 4. If it was over 3, it would be 6 pi over 3. So we get 11 pi over 4 if we're subtracting. Again, it's 8 pi over 4, so I'm going to go ahead and write that now. And so we get negative 5 pi over 4. For 4-3, you are still doing trigonometry. However, you're focusing with it on a graph. You know the sine, cosine, and tangent. That's the original 3. However, we're using y over r because your r is your hypotenuse, x over r, and y over x. The other 3, because it talks about you doing 6, is cosecant, secant, and cotangent. Cosecant is the reciprocal of sine, secant is the reciprocal of cosine, and cotangent is the reciprocal of tangent. The other thing it talks about in 4-3 is the reference angle. The reference angle is whenever how many degrees it takes you to get to the closest x-axis. So if you're in quadrant 1, it is your angle. If you're in quadrant 2, you do 180 minus your angle. Quadrant 3, you do your angle minus 180. In quadrant 4, you do 360 minus your angle. The reference angle has to be less than 90 degrees. Okay, I'm going to show you these two examples, and it's where you are either finding these or using these to find the equation. So we're first going to write what A, B, and C and D are. So my amplitude is A, which is 1/2. The period is negative, or 2 pi divided by the absolute value of B. So here we have 2 pi divided by 1/4. You keep change flip, so we get 8 pi. Your frequency is the reciprocal of period, or absolute value of B over 2 pi. So we get 1/4 divided by 2 pi, which is 1 over 8 pi. The vertical shift is just D, which is -3, so it was moved down 3. The phase shift is -C over B, so we have negative pi over 2 divided by 1/4. So negative times negative gives us a positive, so pi over 2 divided by 1/4 gives me 2 pi. So that's finding all of the attributes. We have to have y equals something cosine something something, or y equals something sine something something. So our vertical shift is +1, so a positive one. So we're going to put +1 at the end. That's the easiest thing to see. The amplitude is 2. Our A is 2. And I'm getting this from the two equations I had up there. So the period is 2 pi, and that's equal to 2 pi over B. That's how we find the period. Since those are the same thing, B is 1, so we just put X. Now to check for C. So the phase shift is -2 pi, which equals -C over B, and our B is 1. So -2 pi is equal to -C, so C is 2 pi plus 2 pi. And you are done. The sine of A is sine of 75 divided by A, 17, equals sine of B, which is 40, divided by lowercase b. So we're going to cross multiply. So we have B sine of 75 equals 17 sine of 40. And when you get B by itself, so we divide by sine of 75. So B equals 17 sine of 40 divided by sine of 75. And anytime you're getting a side, remember that you're going to approximate to the nearest 10. So we approximately get 11.3. We have 8 squared equals 11 squared plus 6 squared minus 2 times 11 times 6 cosine of A. And we're finding the angle A. So 64 equals 121 plus 36 minus 132 cosine of A. So I'm going to combine these. 64 equals 157 minus 132 cosine of A. However, I cannot combine the 157 and the 132 because of the cosine of A being multiplied by 132. So I'm subtracting 157 to both sides, and I get negative 93 equals negative 132 cosine of A. So we're going to divide by negative 132. So I have 93 over 132 equals cosine of A. However, I need just angle A. to find just angle A, we're going to do cosine inverse of 93 over 132 to get A, which equals 45.2 degrees. And on these, when you're doing a lot of cosines, they will ask you to round to the nearest tenth. And C is 13. So 5 plus 12 plus 13 gives me 30. So half of 30 is equal to 13. And then I'm just finding the area. Square root of 900 and square root of 900 is 30.